I know that this is hell. I'm sure you saw the timestamp. You were like, oh my God, this is so long. Hi, welcome back to probably what is the 5th, 6th, 7th attempt at me actually starting to film this video. And right off the bat, I'm just going to let you know that the reason it took me so many takes was because I was trying, being a perfectionist. I was trying to make an attempt at, I don't know, taking this kind of like angle or like this approach of being like the, soft-spoken, like inspirational. I do think that this video is going to be inspirational, but it's only going to be inspirational if I film this from a place of authenticity. And me trying to be this soft-spoken, whoop-de-woo, la-di-da, flaze-da. No, that's not the bitch that I am. This is the bitch I am. So, the title of this video is exactly what it is. I took a career pivot and these are the lessons I learned, right? I don't know if this is gonna be numbered. It's me sitting here, yapping, rambling away. I am channeling a message. I feel like this is supposed to reach someone. If you believe in those esoteric things, if you believe in a higher being, if you're agnostic, religious, hell, you might be atheist. And all that matters is that if you have been sitting here going through an existential crisis, working some dead-end ass job, even if you're making thousands of rands, thousands of dollars, pesos, whatever it is that you're earning, I feel like this will reach whoever it is that it needs to reach. If you have been sitting there and your question has been, is this as good as it gets? Is this what I'm meant to do? Am I going to be stuck doing this for the rest of my life until retirement? What does retirement even look like for me if I feel like I have nothing to show for all of this hard work, working for someone to make them money while I earn a set, structured salary that keeps being siphoned and going towards bills, rent, car notes, insurance? This video is for you. Okay, cool. That was just 2 minutes of me getting that off of my chest and releasing that because I was sitting here trying to be someone that I absolutely am not. And I don't want to get too distracted. Okay. Please don't mind. I am just kind of like, the approach is like very Queen, right? Like very Bohemian Rhapsody. I think you guys know which, you know what I'm talking about. I have a statement here. I thought I was giving up stability when I was really giving myself back to myself. That is something that resonates so strongly within me because it is really truly an epiphany and a realization that I've had quite recently after, what feels like a couple of weeks or perhaps months of me questioning like where it is that I'm going in life, especially because I was at a point of, I didn't serve a purpose, right? To me, this entire time, okay, so I've been working corporate, working a job. I've been working in my career for 7 years. For those of you who are new to me, hi. First of all, my name is Michelle. Can't believe I didn't even have an intro. My name is Michelle. I prefer being called L for short. And this channel is essentially documentation of self-discovery, self-realization, and it feels like rediscovery on so many layers and on so many levels. I've got a bunch of series that are coming. It's gonna make sense as time goes along. What I felt like though was that this was a very important video for me to film, and I've been putting it off for a while because I felt so greatly uncomfortable talking about my journey, the many instances where I had been unemployed, the many instances where I had lost jobs, but I don't care anymore. Cool. So, my realization. Okay. I used to work as I was a social media and content manager. That was kind of something that I had been doing for, give or take 7 years, a little over 7 years. And I must say that I am quite proud of my career. I'm proud of the things that I've achieved. I'm proud of the accolades. I'm proud of the many milestones that I'd set for myself and achieving them, right? I was a person who always believed in setting goals, and when I achieved those goals, for me, it was kind of proving to myself that, holy shit, I can do this thing, right? It doesn't matter what anyone says or how I feel about it. But that's a whole thing. Until I lost my job in December, right? I had reached a new milestone that I had set for myself throughout the year. I think I'd been setting that and kind of having that intention for 7 years, which was I want to one day work for a global company, work for an overseas-based company, earn in a different currency, and that different currency was going to be the gateway to me finally realizing my dreams of having savings and perhaps looking towards buying a house and getting a car. It lasted 4 months. It lasted 4 months. It lasted 4 months. And from between then and now, right, I just realized that, holy shit, I have been giving myself, my creativity, my light, just my entire state of being to a 9-to-5 job to make other people money. And I have nothing to show for it, save for a glowing CV. Let's see how long this video is, because I might actually get into dragging the fuck out of LinkedIn and all the people on LinkedIn, because I think that LinkedIn is a poison. I think that if you bitches think that TikTok is where the problem is, LinkedIn is actually where the fucking problem is. The girls that get it. Those that don't. And I know that they're in their feelings right now. Okay, so as I said, it had been 7 years that I had been working in this career. I keep shifting back and forth because like I'm trying to do this like filming style of being in the sunlight because I really love the sunlight. There is a ring light here in the back, but I actually kind of like this little like orb floating. It's really cool. We'll figure it out. Also the sun is kind of being blocked by leaves. Hold up. Where is it? It's here. Oh my god. Okay, please excuse me. I will probably like be moving in and out. Like you'll see me changing back and forth between this. I should have actually recorded this a little bit earlier when the sun was a little lower, but who cares? We're here now. I've got something to say. I have been working in my career for the past 7 years, or at least I had been. You know, I'd worked in amazing companies and I'd been exposed to several really incredible industries. And I feel like those really owed towards me learning how to be adaptable, right? It's almost like I learned to become like something of a black cat. Don't know why specifically a black cat, but I felt like I'd become something of a cat, right? Where cats will put themselves in the strangest and wildest predicaments. And then when they fall or they lose their balance, they just have this natural innate instinct to land on their feet all the time. It doesn't matter. They will fall one entire story down and they'll still manage to land on their feet, several feet, right? And so for me, that's kind of how I'm viewing my life and the manners and ways in which I have been able to be adaptable, right? I've always thought that that itself was a strength amongst other things, right? I just thought it was a skill. It's actually a superpower. So, I didn't really realize that I had been repeatedly asking myself an existential question that did require an answer and did require some form of acceptance and action until I lost my job in December. I was working for an awesome company in the United States. I was earning in dollars, and to me, it was the perfect time for me to start saving. But not just to start saving, to take inspired action. I wanted to start investing in stocks. I did have intentions of making myself more financially literate. That's what I wanted to do because I did want to be, and I do want to be financially stable. The problem herein lies in that, as I said before, I really don't have anything to show for that because that same job that I thought was going to take me out of, you know, this situation where I was broke, or not broke, but these situations where I wasn't earning enough money and now I was earning enough money to start doing multiple things, didn't even last fucking 4 months. No, I lied, it lasted 5. It didn't last 6 months. At this point, I've accepted that what I want to do is not necessarily what I'm gonna do because I had a whole setup. I'm back. As you guys are aware, I had started off this video wanting to speak about my career pivot, but lighting's kind of been getting in the way of me successfully doing this in the aesthetic way that I wanted to. So I'm just going to go with the flow on this. I had been working 7 years as a social media and content manager, creator, specialist bouncing back and forth between those varying titles, right? And I had kind of reached a point where, sorry, I just need a, and I had a goal. I had an intention behind this career path that I was taking. I wanted to be somebody's creative lead, right? I wanted to be a head of department. I wanted to be this, that's what I wanted to achieve, which I did in a way. However, the problem about achieving career milestones and this sense of stability that they bring is that, excuse me, the problem with career milestones, having a career path, something that has been deeply socially preconditioned into our minds from a young age, is that they create this false sense of stability, right? There is a false sense of stability until that trapdoor falls from your feet. That's what it felt like for me. I had been working for a really awesome company in the United States where I was exposed to cybersecurity, and it was really cool. Like, it was me doing something that, while I didn't really understand it, I had an opportunity to learn and understand because I am a curious being. And so when I worked this job, it felt like I had finally reached my goal and my milestone, and this was where I was meant to be. This was the place where I was going to climb up the ranks, I was going to climb up the ladders, I was going to get that promotion, I was finally going to be in a place, in a position for me to receive this preconceived notion and idea of what abundance for me looked like. What I didn't realize was that I had spent 7 years cultivating and honing my craft and my skill set and my talents, and then giving that all away to other people whilst also feeling self-important. So it wasn't until I'd lost my job in December, right, and really had a massive breakdown, that I realized, oh, okay, I don't want to do this anymore. That was it. I was just like, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to work corporate. I'm tired of trying to chase after the next salary, the next title. And there's a piece about like also going through the recruitment process, going through the job search process, that also really made me reach this point. I was and am so fucking tired of corporate games, because that's what it starts to feel like, is that at the end of the day, this is just one massive cycle that is a fucking game to somebody, right? It's a game. And I reached a point of irritation because I did not understand why this is framed like some kind of really sick game. You go on LinkedIn, you're searching for these non-existent jobs and you're applying for them. 1 time out of 10, they're responding to you. Mind you, it's not as if like the people who are applying for these jobs aren't qualified. Most of us feel that we are qualified, right? Like, we've spent years building our CVs. I thought I was very qualified. Every job that I was applying for, I was like, oh, I'm gonna get this. Like, this is gonna be like fitting for me because it like really meets and like satisfies my interests. Until I started finding myself being directed or asked to submit self-interview videos, like video assessments, having to do assessments.
I beg your pardon?
I feel like we are in a dystopia. I feel like it is a dystopia. When did we get to a point where jobs are now set up in such a way that it's literally just like a non-existent job to get as many people to apply so that then somebody can go, look, I have 1,000 people applying. Meanwhile, all the people that applied, you have no intention of even getting back to them anyways. All of the people that have applied don't realize that it might be for a company that actually does not have their best interests at heart. This is just me having an impassioned rant about corporate, because I initially was going to speak about my career pivot, but I need to actually get a lot off of my chest first before I can actually reach that point. So this is about to be like a couple minutes of me going on and on and on, and hoping that you who's watching this can understand and see where it is that I'm coming from. Because where I'm coming from is that this is bullshit. And because it is bullshit, because I realized it was bullshit, I decided, fuck it. I'm no longer going to be doing this bullshit anymore. A lot of bullshit being thrown around. How do I know this? Because the career pivot that I took went from me working a corporate job to taking on teaching and being an educator. And wow, what a beautiful experience it is. What an eye-opening experience it has been. I never thought that I would be able to step into this career, which by itself found me in a very interesting way. But like, I think I have so much to say, and I don't know how to like pinpoint what it is that I need to touch on specifically, because this is coming from a place that's deeply passionate. And I have been in corporate spaces where speaking from a place of passion was punished. But there was a point where I'd realized, like, but wait a minute, why am I having to pacify myself? Or I feel like this is unfair treatment. Or I feel like you are asking for far too much from me with absolutely no consideration for my time, my mental health, my ability to even execute. Oh, you need to wear 10 hats, right? That's what they're saying on LinkedIn. Oh, you need to be a person who's got multiple talents. You need to wear 10 hats. Marketing is in the shitter. Marketing is in the shitter because of LinkedIn. But anyways, that's neither here nor there, guys. So, my career pivot. After 7 years working in corporate, I would either realize that I was in a toxic workspace and there was nothing I could do to change it, or I would quite literally be fired because of the most out there in the ether reasons. I reached a point where I was unemployed at the end of December, and I remained unemployed until March. And I reached a point where the savings, see, this is where they get you. The savings that I had set aside for me to, I guess, be like, hopefully live a cushy life, the savings that I'd started because I wanted to invest, I wanted to be financially literate, I wanted to be financially stable, fell through the fucking trap door because I had to pay rent and I didn't have a job. And I knew that I didn't have a job for several months, and I exhausted my savings and still missed rent. Not everybody's story is going to be the same. Some of you are probably going to sit there and be like, well, that sounds like a skill issue. Cool, that's fine. I mean, that's if that's how you see it. Sorry, I'm just like changing my light settings because the sun's kind of disappeared. It wasn't until several realizations, having to move through depression first, right? And that was rough because it almost felt like securing a job would validate me, right? It would validate my talents. It would validate my skills. It would, I don't even know, like my entire identity for the last 7 years had been rooted in corporate, rooted in a career that other people had wanted me to pursue. Other people were living vicariously through me, and I had completely sidestepped a personal choice and a personal interest that I had had since I was a child, going into my teens and into high school, which was to work in fashion. I wanted to be a fashion designer, and I first had to get through convincing my parents to be comfortable in me wanting to take on this creative, almost vocational career. And once we did reach that place, somebody else at university, it's my stockings upstairs. When I reached university, again, this whole thing about conditioning, right? Somebody else's belief, somebody else's advice to me, to my parents, was, well, if you apply for this program, like, there's going to be issues, or it was something along the lines of like something that it was going to be like an administrative issue. And so they would encourage me to take a BCom degree in marketing. And now, as I speak about it, I realize that I think that was bullshit. I do think it was bullshit. Oftentimes, we get people who try to course correct us because they're projecting from their own place of fear, self-doubt, limiting beliefs, some mentality that's told them that is the norm and that's how it should be, right? So I've been through this for 7 years. I've lost plenty of jobs. I've always left every single job, or I've always sat there in the stillness, in the sense of realization that I have nothing to show for after losing this job, except a list of skills for me to take and give away and exhaust on the next place and the next person with the next manager who's full of shit. So, December 2024 was when I had enough. In a way, I just didn't realize it. It hadn't caught up with me. I was looking for jobs from January all the way through to around, I want to say, March. At first, nothing was landing. I was applying and applying and applying, and I was on LinkedIn, and I was reading posts, and I was reading this, and I was reading other people's opinions. I was reading the opinions of thought leaders, right? Those are the people, by the way, who are the problem. Those are the people who have made the working environment and job searching what it is today, right? And I kept on shifting and changing and molding myself and boxing myself to make sure that I could meet and fit within this expectation or these narratives of what it is that I needed to be, what it is that I needed to do in order to get to that next goal within the career ladder, the career step, right? And sitting on my legs. And oh great, okay, hold on. I got nothing for a while. I got nothing. And I started to get anxious because my sense of stability was being tested. This idea that really wasn't my idea of stability was being tested, right? I started to see that my savings were dwindling. I started to realize that my savings are dwindling and I have no money and I have no financial backup except for assistance from my parents and friends. And then it reached a point where I missed rent. And it was when that happened that the humiliation started to set in. And today I'm just like, what the fuck were you humiliated for? Life fucking happens. Tough tits, right? But it was humiliating. And there's a piece about humiliation and unemployment that I want to speak about. People are not comfortable in opening up about unemployment and the financial effects it has on you because it means you failed. And that was where my humiliation came in, right? It was humiliating because, again, I had spent all this time putting so much energy and, bossing up and, girl bossing, gatekeeping, gaslighting my way to what I perceived to be the top. And I kept tumbling back down. And after missing rent, I had to face the, at the time, humiliating reality that I needed to tell my landlords. I don't know, something about that really messed with me because it gave me so much anxiety. The entire time I thought that I would be homeless. Been there, done that. Not in the streets homeless, but like not having a place to bed down roots. Being in a position or a situation where I had to go back home and I spent a very long time unemployed and struggling to find employment. You see, that's the thing, right? Like, it's a cycle. I realized it was a cycle. I was like, wait, I've done this before and I hated it. And I went back to it anyways and let it happen again. And now it's, what the fuck? And it was around January that I finally had my breakthrough, which is interesting because it was from January, as I'd said, that I'd started to look for jobs and nothing was landing. So it started off with silence. It started off with applying for all of these jobs. And then, okay, right. Okay, I'm back. I actually had to take a moment to pause because I was wondering, I don't know, I kind of felt like I was directionless in what it was that I was trying to say. But then I realized that that's the perfectionist in me that I've cultivated and nurtured and allowed to grow and take over pretty much every aspect of my life because of corporate and the anxiety that comes with it. And in my mind, I was like, what if this video ends up being 44 minutes long? So fucking what, you know? So what? Hopefully someone is so entertained by what it is that I have to say that they watch the full 44 minutes. So if you are now at this point, thank you so much for sticking around, because we're getting there. I promise you we're gonna get there. So it was silent for the first month, January. In that silence, a breakthrough occurred in the form of an opportunity. And it was a very unexpected opportunity, right? I wanted to say unsurprising. It was unexpected and surprising. It was a temporary role as a lecturer at a prestigious, well-known private institution where I would be teaching marketing and media to fashion students. Something about that really touched me deeply, because I was like, I'd always wanted to be in fashion, and I ended up in marketing. Now I get to impart my knowledge and my experiences in marketing to fashion students. And I did not think that I wanted to do that job, girl. I'm not gonna sit here and even lie to you. I genuinely didn't think that I was ready for that. I genuinely didn't feel like it was fitting for me, because I still thought in my head, no, I actually wanna do the social media and the content shit, right? That was what was in my head. And so I was like, on the fence, 50-50, but I still said yes. I still said I was interested, because I read the modules and I was like, wait a minute, I've been doing this for 7 years, right? So this is a very fitting. So I said yes. I got comfortable in the fact that at least it was familiar enough for me to do these modules, right? To cover these modules. And I didn't realize that in saying yes and taking the jump, despite the uncertainty, despite feeling that I wasn't worthy, despite feeling that I wasn't qualified, was a gateway, a portal, a vortex, if you will, right? For those of you who don't really believe, it was just another opportunity that was unusual and way out of my sphere and realm of what it was that I expected myself to be. But it really did change my mindset, right? Like it's for once, I do feel like I have something to show for it, and it's not necessarily material. It's who I've become. Took a while to get there, by the way, because during that time, this is why I say it was a gateway and a portal. When I said yes, and I stepped into accepting and being interested in finding out more, suddenly HR people were reaching out to me, they were calling me, some of the jobs that I'd applied for were getting back to me, like, oh, we want to book a little interview with you, can we meet, can we talk? And of course I said yes, because I was like, oh shit, okay, here we go. Opportunities, they're flying in. I gave up, I put it out there, I let be and I let God, I gave it to the universe and I said, bring it right back. And it's only now that I realize that I've actually been doing that my entire life. It wasn't clicking, right? Very subtly it was, but yeah, in my mind, it wasn't clicking, because I'm a very logical person. Things have to make sense to me. Hence me speaking on the esoteric piece, and maybe, like I said, I'll cover that in another video. But it did unlock a spiritual journey for me as well. Unemployment actually did. Sitting around and having absolutely nothing to do except apply for jobs, and then get to a point where you've applied for what feels like all of the jobs, and then having to spend day in and day out, Monday to Friday, with nothing but time and Wi-Fi. Thank God for the Wi-Fi. And anxiety, right? And depression. And those two things just clinging onto you and standing over your shoulder and following you everywhere you went. I didn't leave my house for a minute. I've been in hermitude. Well, not now, but I have been in hermitude. It's just a little bit different because it's now by choice. And okay. So these interviews started to come in, and I took them. And I did the one interview and I listened, and she was telling me about like how it is and what it is that expectations are and blah, blah, blah. And I had my questions, and then we scheduled for another interview. And I was like, no, I do not want to do this. I was like, fuck ass, no, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. I'm not interested in this. Mainly because it also wasn't in alignment with what it was I wanted to do, like the content creation, social media piece. It was stepping into something that was unfamiliar, but it was still unfamiliar and still within corporate. Again, it hadn't caught up with me that I was actually sick and tired of an entire framework and not just one piece in the cog. So I very politely declined. I gave my reasons and we parted amicably. And I said, good luck in finding your next candidate, the person who really is meant for this role. The second one, they came to me on LinkedIn. It was an agency. And I interviewed and I thought she was lovely, and it was also based here, which to me I started to realize was kind of important because I'd done the remote thing, and that in itself messed with me mentally to be boxed within four walls. And I realized that I wanted it to be remote because I so desperately wanted to rest. I so desperately needed to rest. And American hours are great. Sorry about it. American hours in South Africa for me are wonderful. But anyway, but because it was in Cape Town and because it was hybrid, I was like, okay, I get a bit of both. Like I get really a nice balance where I still get to be around people. I still get to be social. I still get to interact because I am a social being when the time is right. But I also do have time to be at home and actually like unlock my productivity without distractions, and also not have to worry about waking up 2 to 3 hours early just for me to get to where it is I need to go because of traffic, right? And then they sent me an assessment. I could go on and on about this whole new era that we've entered into where now, like, assessments are a thing. Like, now they give us homework so we can get a job. This bullshit of assessments, I don't know where it came from. And it started off with assessments and then it moved into doing video assessments. I don't know. Are y'all lazy? Are you guys lazy? Is that the thing? You tune us for being lazy because we want to work remotely. But then when it comes to you actually doing your job, which is sitting your ass in an interview, scoring through CVs, you want to use AI, you want to do these video assessments, you send out these assessments so that we must do them first, so that then when they get to you, your job is made easier. But when we ask just for a little bit of time to work in our houses because we are more productive, we're lazy. Sorry. I needed to get that off my chest because I feel like someone's going to watch, and you are someone who is a recruiter, a hiring manager, or CEO, or whatever is going to be watching this message. That piece was for you. Anyways, so I get an assessment. I took the assessment because, like, what was another thing? I said, I'm not going to accept anyone who gives me an assessment. And this one, thankfully, was a paid assessment. Sorry, I just realized, like, I've got pilling. It's so distracting. So the assessment was paid. And I was like, you know what? Considering where it is that I am now, where I need money, I need funds to live, I needed to buy groceries and get by, I happily did it, right? I did the assessment. I put so much time into it. I put 7 to 10 hours of work. And then I sent it. And I still haven't heard back from them, bitch. I haven't heard back from them. I got my money, don't get me wrong. That I definitely chased after it. Don't fuck with my money. But I heard nothing back from them. To this day. I did that assessment back in 11/11. Sorry, it's one of those things. Again, it's 11/11, so stick with me here. Roll with me. I sent it back to them. I heard nothing from them. When did I do that assignment? I think it might have been like mid-March, probably second week of March. Somewhere in March. Heard nothing back from them. And then I was like, how dare you? And I sent them an email asking, how dare you? A very lengthy email. I didn't hear back from them, but I said what I said and I got it off my chest, and that was what mattered to me. Because it was time for me to speak up and say, you don't get to disrespect my time, my effort, and the energy that I put in for this thing you came to me for. You came to me And now I'm being tossed aside and I'm being disposed of like trash because I don't know what it is. That maybe they found another candidate. That's okay, it's fine. But I'm almost certain we all collectively agree that it's absolute garbage behavior for recruiters to not get back to us or respond to let us know that we have been unsuccessful in our application. So I let it known that I think it's garbage. And that now, because it was nice and polite in that email, I think y'all are garbage. That's it, right? I told them off, and I moved on with my life. They didn't say anything, it's okay. The next one that came in was with a pretty well-known agency, globally known agency. They were looking for, I think it was a community manager, I can't remember what it was. They were looking for someone, good old on-site role, in which I thought maybe I could negotiate for hybrid because I thought that perhaps there was an openness for that. I don't know why I thought that. So I applied and I heard nothing. I think 2 weeks, 3 weeks passed, I didn't hear anything. And we all know if you don't hear back from them in 2 weeks, they're not interested, right? And by that time, I had already started stepping into the lecturing role. So that was going on in the background, but that in itself needed set up, right? Like, yes, I was interested, but there was a piece about it because I was taking over from someone who was temporarily stepping away. And so they needed confirmation and planning and all of that stuff. So while I was interested, I knew that there were other elements that were falling into place. While I was going through these interviews, though, they did eventually get back to me and they said, well, would you like to come in? We'll meet up with you. We'll have a chat about the role. I'm walking in there thinking it's an interview. I walked out being like, oh, this was just a chit chat. This was just a let's get to know you because we already know that we want you here anyways. We just want to see your personality. So I walked away for once feeling seen, respected, appreciated for what it was and who I am, what it is and who it is I am, right? Yeah, the CV was great and everything. The CV meant that I was fitting for the role because I had excessive or extensive amounts of experience that I could impart on students. But it was more about who I am as a person. It wasn't just about what was on the paper. And that was when I realized, like, wait a minute, lecturing might slap a little bit differently because I get paid to be a certified yapper. But that didn't click with me until I came in for the second interview, which was a mock lesson. And I had to put this lesson together. You see, now that was an assessment I was willing to take because it was an assessment that was fitting. I had to present, I had to speak, I had to showcase my ability to talk as a person, right? To keep people engaged. And I was excited about it. I was willing to go home and do this. I was willing to do this homework because for once, I don't even know what it was I went through or what it was that I was just like, this shit is exciting. This shit is exciting. This shit is so exciting. It's different. And it was then that I started to realize I was remembering who I was before corporate broke me. Curious, effervescent, happy-go-lucky, spontaneous, a risk taker, a person who I was willing to constantly take these leaps of faith into the unknown and be excited for the unknown because I knew that something great was waiting for me on the other side. Even like my journey going into corporate in itself, I took a risk. I moved from Johannesburg to Cape Town for an interview. I didn't have the job. I just came here for the interview. And I stepped into the interview and I did what I needed to do. And I knew that I got the job. And they got back to me the next day and they told me I got the job. Right? And so this is why I say that there's esoteric like bits and pieces. There's flashes of like genuine, esoteric, higher power, divine guidance, universe, whatever it is you believe in. That's why I feel so strongly about this because it's only in these epiphanies and realizations that I was like, oh wait, I've been doing this. I just lost it along the way because I got comfortable. I got comfortable in the idea of stability. When I should have been like, there was a point where I started doing content creation for skincare. That was my next point of inflection. I fell off because I was comfortable, right? I fell off because what happened was that comfortability, that comfort, that stability, that comfort zone, the trapdoor fell open and I fell through, and I had to go back to Johannesburg and go back home to my parents to recuperate and rebuild for 8 months. And that was rough, right? So coming back to what I was saying, Raunda Kesana, I found myself already so excited and passionate about this new opportunity to be a lecturer. I didn't care that it was temporary. It was just like, oh, this is a moment of reprieve. This is a moment of a reprieve. When I heard my working schedule, it was loose. It was a loose working schedule. Wait, no, I actually hadn't even heard my work schedule. I have a very, very close friend of mine. Great, love it a bit. She has extensive experience in teaching. She taught overseas. When I told her about this, she was like, I can't remember if I was bitching about something. I can't remember what it was. It was just like a moment of uncertainty because I didn't have clarity. And so I was spiraling because I was unfamiliar. My nervous system was like, bitch, this is not part of the memo. This is not part of the program. What are you doing? That was what my nervous system was telling me. And that was what my brain was screaming at me. Like, what are you doing? What are you doing? And I spoke to her and she said to me, get your shit together and go and take this and do what it is that you need to do and show them the bitch that you absolutely are. And so, yeah, that was in itself something that meant so much to me, because outside of that, like hyping me up, she had experience and she told me what her experience is, and her experience to me sounded like something that I wanted for myself. She was like, there's holidays. Tell me in what universe within corporate do you get a holiday? Unless you're working in like manufacturing, I think, where you get the December off for an extended period of time. There are no holiday periods in a 9 to 5. There aren't. There's no flexibility. That in itself is an illusion. Unless if you're meant to be in corporate, because that's also another thing. There are people who are damn good at fucking working in an office. Damn good at being heads of marketing. Damn good at, people who've pivoted and actually, see, that's the thing. Like, there are some people who have taken a risk and a pivot to do something that they genuinely feel that they weren't qualified for. I've seen it on LinkedIn. I've seen people share about how they were, these roles that they felt there's got to be something more. This can't just be it. There's got to be something bigger for me. And they've been able to cultivate their skills and step into corporate, and they're so good at it because it's where they need to be. It's what they were meant to do, right? Mine is, gotta flip it a little bit. Not to say that, right, like I'm not a person who's meant to be in the office. It's just, it is what it is. And it's very interesting because I openly admit that. I openly recognize that. And so, again, like, it sets my nervous system on fire a little bit because I'm like, okay, well then, bitch, if you're not supposed to be in an office, what are you going to do when you need a salary? What are you going to do when you need stability? What are you going to do because you got to pay rent, right? What are you going to do after this lecturing role? I'm really not interested in trying to control my life anymore because that just brings nothing but anxiety. I just took a tangent. Pardon me for that. This is going to be a long video. So I speak to my friend and she says to me, she outlines all of these wonderful things that come with this opportunity. And she says, like, girl, you also need a break. You also need a break. Like, try something new for once and see how you like it. She already saw that I was suited for it. It was fitting. I just, again, I need time for me to catch up with that, right? So it was while I was waiting to present, like I was leading up or building up to presenting my mock lecture. I had received the assessment and I'd been like, okay, cool. It's only due like a week from now, so I've got time. And while I was waiting, I just said, like, I need a sign. I need a sign. if this is like, I need a sign, because again, I was like, am I sure? Like, don't I want a corporate job, right? Said, give me a sign. The funny thing is, the sign came in the form of a phone call, again, from what I'd mentioned, this prestigious, very well-known and renowned creative PR agency. These were people that I hadn't heard from in 3 weeks. But I was like, oh, well, here's my sign. We take this phone call. They were like, oh, we're interested. We got your CV. We really want to interview. We really want to talk to you. In the phone call, she gave it away. In the phone call, she gave it away. That it was not, that this opportunity, this corporate opportunity was not meant for me. She said, we've been struggling to fill the role because candidates have been declining it since it's not remote. And there were just two pieces for me that shifted. It took a while to get to this point, but there was two pieces that like really stood out to me. The first was the remote thing, right? I'm not really gonna I'm not interested in getting too far into that because I think I've already touched on it quite briefly. However, I don't understand what's up with this obsession of having us in the office so that they can micromanage. I don't get it. All we are asking is for 1 or 2 days where we can actually be at home and be productive. Have we forgotten COVID? We've done this before, and a lot of people were really good at it, and in fact, there was more productivity. Isn't that why in Europe they started introducing a 4-day work week? Because they did the research and found that people were more productive. Like, have y'all forgotten that things are psychology? Anyway, so that was the one thing. I was like, okay, so not even a hybrid? She was like, oh yeah, it is hybrid. You get to work from home on a Friday. I was like, okay. That just sounds to me like slavery, toil, like turmoil for Monday to Thursday, sorry. And then Friday is the day that, oh no, I still have to work, but it's Friday. Like, I don't know. Friday just felt like such a throwaway day. That's what it felt like to me. It just felt like a throwaway. So I said, okay, I'm interested. The second piece that stood out to me was we've been interviewing many candidates, or what was it? The second part was we've interviewed many candidates who've declined because it's not remote. And I took away the remote piece and I started to think, you've interviewed many candidates and they've declined. So I wasn't even really your first choice, was I? It's been 3 weeks. It had been 3 weeks. I wasn't even their top 5, I don't think. They had to go through a list of candidates who were not interested. Candidates that they felt were suitable, that's fine. Candidates that they felt were suitable or a good fit, but said, no, I'm not interested because I know my value and I know what I'm worth, and I'm worth at least having some kind of hybrid or remote model. And they were like, oh, let's just go to the scraps. That's what I felt like. It was giving very much, let's just go to the scraps now. But that epiphany only really hit me by the end of the week. So Wednesday, I take the call. Thursday, I interview. I believe it was Thursday. Either Thursday or Friday, I interviewed. I met this wonderful girl. She was so sweet, very enthusiastic. As we okay, another tangent. For some of us who are job seekers, if you're searching for a job right now and you're struggling to break through that brick wall, all you're waiting for is someone to give you a chance. That's it. You're literally just waiting for one person to read your CV and be like, I'm interested. Let me hear what it is that this person has to say. Because a lot of us have felt inadequate throughout this entire job seeking journey. Every silence, every non-response, every rejection has always felt like, oh, exactly that, a rejection. It's made us feel like we're not worthy. It's made us feel like we have no sense of value. It's made us feel inadequate. When all you really know deep in your core is you just need one person to give you a chance. I've always said this to my mom. I just need one person who's going to give me an opportunity to interview, and I will blow them away. And that's what happened with this interview. It's almost as if, like, even though I wasn't necessarily at the top of the pile and at the list, because I had the opportunity to speak my piece and start, like, tell my story and tell this woman or this lady, like, why I should be considered for the role and considered for the next step or phase, I felt really confident. And I could see that, like, it was clicking with her, like, oh shit, damn, where have you been, right? And I knew that I was a shoo-in, at least, if not for the job, then at least for the next stage. But then as we're speaking, I start to ask my questions. Because now my thing is, if you interview me, I'm interviewing your ass back. Let's both find out if we're a fit. Oh my gosh. It's just a hint of panic just kicked in because I realize I've said so much shit. It's out there now. So I start asking my questions back because I want to make sure that I'm stepping into a place that's got some sense of stability. And forget salary and all of that. I mean, like, is it a healthy work environment? Am I going to have a fair workload, right? Excuse me. And I asked about work-life balance. And she was like, well, I mean, work-life balance is kind of your responsibility. It's something that's in your hands, blah, blah, blah. For me, I usually, like, I come in, I think she said she comes in at 7 or 8, and I knock off at 5 and go to the gym. And I was like, that ain't no work-life balance. What are you talking about? I was like, oh no. But I was desperate. And I also was, holding on to and clinging to the fact that this is a prestigious place and it's going to look good on my CV. And really, I'm not saying this is judgment. It was a moment for me where I was like, wait, I recognize this because I was this girl, right? I've been like this before. Like, oh, it's okay. You work and you'll find a work-life balance. And it's like, there ain't no balance. There is no balance. There is no balance. You get shunned for leaving at 4:30. You've got people looking at you sideways. Like, there's never any balance. Like, somebody's always going to feel some type of way for you. Anyways, it's fine. I said I have please and thank you so much, whatever and whatnot. And then this was the breaking point. Friday, I get an email with an assessment. Sorry, let me start that again because I want you to understand where this is coming from. Friday, I get an email with a 23-page assessment. And they said it was due on Monday.
I beg your pardon?
You want me to work over the weekend doing homework for a job that I have not even secured, for a company that I don't even work for. I'm not even getting paid, at least if I was getting paid. You want me to work over the weekend? That was the epiphany. That was it. That was the epiphany for me. I got on the phone with my mom. I was in tears. I was in tears because I knew this wasn't it. I was not accepting this. And not accepting it meant that I actually had to stand in this realization that, oh shit, like, none of this stuff actually makes any kind of sense for me, because all it's ever done is bring stress and anxiety and overexerting myself for things that I haven't even secured yet. Just so I can prove myself, I gotta do homework for 23 pages. 23 pages. And my problem with assessments is sometimes they take those things and they take your ideas and they run. That's why I didn't hear from those bitch asses who left me hanging, but at least they run me my money, so it's whatever. Right? Because, like, they take your ideas. Assessments is like, that's an issue with assessments. Like sometimes they don't want you. They want what it is that's up here in your head. And that's the thing about corporate. They want what's here. Especially if you're in a creative role. Marketing particularly. Because marketing is creativity, whichever way you look at it. Whether you are creating something or you're creating a strategy that requires creativity, because marketing is psychology. You've got to be creative to be able to tap into people's mental and actually persuade them, manipulate them, if you will, right? You've got to be creative. So for me, it was like, no. My mom was like, no, I'm not letting you do this. Like my mom straight up said, my parents were the first people. It's really, okay. For me, when my mom said no, when my mom said no and she heard me crying on the phone, I knew that she was like, I don't want this for my daughter. I don't want this for my kid, right? And it was because my parents have seen what I've been through for the last I'd say the 3 of the 7 years that I've been doing this, right? So they've been through the working for a year and a bit and then either having to leave because it's unhealthy or getting dismissed because bullshit reasons, or even retrenchment, right? Like, because that's also another piece. My dad was like, I don't understand this assessment thing. My dad is like in his 50s. My dad's awesome. Like his own journey, my dad is a master manifester. I actually haven't I'm not going to get into it, but my dad is awesome. Like he's cool as fuck because he's such a huge inspiration, and he has always been the person who's driven like this belief in me of like, if all frogs can jump, why can't I? And it's something that I've carried with me. And I think it's why I'm even sitting down here. Like if someone else can find like massive success in being a content creator or just yapping in a video, why can't I? Why can't I, right? And I think some of you actually need to hear that too. If all frogs can jump, why can't I? You're a frog. Jump, little froggy. So when my dad, who in him, like he's been able to see, he is someone who has a talent for stepping out of like one box that was severely limiting and getting himself through and putting in the work to get himself into a job where he could get a car, get a house, take care of his family, and live his manifestations, I guess, right? If my dad, who has always prioritized independence and financial stability, and that you would find it in a corporate job, is saying to me, never in my 50 odd years of life have I ever seen anything like this, and I don't understand what's going on, then something's wrong. If both of my parents, who have been encouraging me to be independent and financially stable, and that the best place for me to do that, or the best way for me to do that, was through being a businesswoman, right? Because that's what it was, like a businesswoman, and that can mean anything. I knew that something was wrong. And I emailed her on the Saturday and I was like, yeah, I didn't prepare for this. I already had plans for the weekend. You asked me to work on the weekend to have something due for Monday. I'm not going to do it, sis. Thank you so much. You've been so lovely. Kennedy, call the Uber.
Thank you so much. You've been so sweet. You've been so sweet. I'm just going to see myself out. Kennedy, call the Uber. Kennedy, call the Uber.
I'm withdrawing my application. And Monday morning, she said, oh, no, it's fine. Don't do the assessment. Will you be available to at least do the second round? And then I realized, oh, this is an urgent hire. It was the end of the month. They urgently needed to fill the role. And that's become a red flag for me, because I have accepted jobs where the next day I was getting an offer, or, oh, we need to fill this role quickly. I've been there, done that. Don't do it if you're watching this. Really take a moment to be like, why are they urgent? Like, why are they hiring so urgently? Why haven't they filled the role? Yeah? Start asking questions and ask more questions when you have the answers to those questions. So she said, I don't have to do the assessment. Can I at least please interview with senior management? I said, no, I'm withdrawing my application and I'm not interested. That same day, I got the lecturing job. That same day, I got the lecturing job. And actually, I remember in my email, I said, thank you, no thank you. And then I think it was a piece about like, I'm already like waiting for other opportunities. Like I've already been interviewing and there are other people who've already, like they're already considering me. So I'm not going to waste my time going back to square one when, right? That's something along those lines. And once I sent that, it was very polite. She said, thank you. It's unfortunate, whatever. I wished her luck with finding a candidate. That same day, I got the lecturing job. If that's not divine timing, if that's not the universe rewarding me for stepping into my sovereignty and for once taking my power back, I don't know what is. Because it's not the only example that I have, but this video is already long as fuck. So take from that what you will. So ever since I've gotten into like lecturing, it's been a blast, right? And there's so many things that I've learned from it. And you know what? Perhaps this video is less about like the lecturing and I'll actually speak on that piece in depth because I do want to start like talking about and documenting like what a day in the life of a lecturer looks like. Even though lecturing wasn't part of my plan, even though it was a 180 or it was me walking down the straight and narrow and I suddenly turned left, it's offered me so much. It's allowed me to experience rest. It's allowed me to have flexibility to do things, right? Like the rest has offered me the recuperation, I guess, if you want to say that. Like even just being unemployed for as long as I was, like that whole period and then leading up to my lecturing and even going into lecturing, it was just all about rest. It was about recalibration and even reconditioning, like just years and years and years of just shit being put in my mental and believing everyone else's notion of what it is that success looks like. All of these months have just been about rest, recalibration, relearning, rebirth, rediscovery. And I don't believe that I would have been in this place if it wasn't for me being like saying no and stepping away from something that was my comfort zone. Do you see, like when people talk about stepping out of your comfort zone, I always used to roll my eyes because for me it was like, well, what the fuck does that mean? What do you mean step out of my comfort zone? Like if my comfort zone is working this job that makes a salary for me to pay my bills and my rent, why would I step out of that? Why would I take the risk? Because it means that I might not have it doesn't make sense. Even if I wanted to step out of my comfort zone and it was in the form of being an entrepreneur, right? Like, how do I do that? It's often that's what it is. When you see videos like this, when you hear people talking about these topics, there's that part of your brain that's like, okay, but how? Because where I am right now is stable. The answer often comes in different forms. Perhaps you need to step away from having a workload that gives you a lot of responsibilities that actually aren't really yours to carry. They're not your responsibility. Not in the grand scheme of things that we call life. But perhaps it takes that. Maybe that's what stepping out of your comfort zone is. It doesn't always have to be quit your job. And for me, it actually was. That's a funny thing. For me, it was. There are some instances where it was like, I'm going to quit this job because I don't like it here. It's uncomfortable. It's unhealthy. It's very toxic. I don't like the manager. I don't give a fuck that I've not found a job. The job will find me. I'm leaving. I've done that before. I have quit a job and just been like, I'll see when I get there. And it sorted itself out, right? So being in lecturing has offered me, like that was me stepping out of my comfort zone. It was also me stepping out of my comfort zone in that I was familiar with one thing and I wasn't qualified or wasn't good enough to fill this other thing, which was lecturing. And yet, like I said, because of the flexibility, because of the structure of the work, because of the nature of the job in itself, the work in itself, I've learned so much. I'm so much more grateful. I'm so grateful. I'm grateful to my students for coming into class every single day and lending me their time and their ears and attention to hear what it is that I have to say. The very many times that I've complained about corporate whilst having to educate them about what marketing is from my perspective and how truly they are such powerful beings because they have youth and creativity at their fingertips. And they're so revolutionary in themselves as a younger generation. Like, they are here to change the scope. And that's awesome to be able to tell them that they can do that. And they should never let anybody tell them otherwise. They should never let anybody make them feel like they're stupid. Because that's another thing that we see nowadays on social media. Oh, Gen Z, they're dumb, they're whatever. Yeah, sure. Some are. Some, we've seen the content. But not all of them. A lot of the younger generation have goals and aspirations that are actually pretty fucking solid, right? And we should be encouraging them to pursue that. We shouldn't be making them feel like just because a handful or a collective of a younger generation like Gen Z are doing questionable things and like, yeah, they might be shaping the narrative of like society but through social media, it doesn't mean that the entire generation of Gen Z now is exactly that. Yes, they are out of touch in that they don't know old things like the TV ads. I was very surprised to see that they don't come across TV ads. We're in the digital age. Of course, they're not going to know what a damn TV ad is. Of course, they don't listen to radio. They've got streaming. Sorry, that was a very passionate defense of the younger generation. Because I'm actually tired of seeing people bully Gen Zs. I really am. I'm tired. It's tired. It's very tired because the same people who are bullying them are doing the exact same thing that's landed millennials where we are, where we feel like we need to be in corporate and we feel like we need to work these jobs. Looking for boomers who tell us like, and I'm all for the chaos that Generation Z, Gen Z, and Gen Alpha have to bring. I'm all for it. Don't now go and do some crazy shit, please. But like, the world is yours. Like, the world truly is an oyster and everything is yours to discover. And if you are creative, you have a superpower and you should use that for your own fucking benefit. Sorry. But I'm very grateful for my students. I really am. I'm so grateful that they've offered me this platform to speak my piece and speak my mind and shoot the shit and yap away and you know, help to offer guidance and shape these young, brilliant minds to become something in the future that I hope will inspire change. You know? I'm grateful to my colleagues. That's actually another piece in of itself is lecturing has exposed me to very like-minded beings. Something that I often struggle to find in corporate. Now I can have certain conversations with people and they can align with them or resonate with them because they think the same way. And not in a echo chamber point of view or sense, like that's actually corporate, that's an echo chamber, but it's just so nice to like walk into a room and be able to speak with someone about the universe and the cosmos. Or speak to someone else about like how there are a few technological advancements that are very greatly concerning for the betterment of society and humanity. Or speak to someone else about fashion and media, right? It's so many eccentric beings that surround me every day that I go into there, like onto campus, be it my students or my colleagues. Just genuinely such a diverse group where it's like an array of colors, right? People who truly embrace their identity and who it is that they are, and they're not afraid to show it and let it be known. And that in itself has inspired me to step into that as well. I used to keep myself small. I used to box myself. I used to hide myself behind people's shadows. And it actually physically manifested itself. It physically showed. I started dressing a certain way. I started dressing like I was small, right? I no longer wore heels. I no longer dressed up. I no longer was like stylish and fashionable, except one job that required me and kind of inspired that in me because I was working in fashion and it was very, like, I was very passionate, and maybe one day we'll talk about that. But I found that again and it was just like, it's been freeing, right? It really has been freeing. It's like I've broken these chains and I feel like I can do anything if I put my mind to it and I set the intention and I take inspired action. And sure, yes, lecturing has done that for me, but the career pivot in itself, the decision to say no to the status quo, say no to this loop that I'd been stuck in for 7 years, to say no and be like, actually, I don't want to do this, not because I'm lazy, but because this doesn't align. Well, in fact, this makes me feel unhealthy. This makes me unhealthy. This leads to deteriorating my mental health to the point that, I'm ideating. I said no to all of that. And I said yes to something completely and totally different that was completely and totally out of my sphere. Whatever it is that I had in mind when I first hesitated to say yes to this opportunity. But I did. And that's what I've learned through this career pivot. And I think that this video is so long because I have so much I have 7 years. 7 years of life lessons within 7 years that I still have to speak on, that I still have to get off my chest, that I still have to share, because there's gotta be someone out there who resonates with this kind of stuff, who resonates with this kind of message, who resonates and just is still stuck in like not knowing, well, what am I supposed to do? What action am I supposed to take? Who wants to act from a place of panic and urgency, and a place of lack, a place of, well, I'm stable in my finances. Or maybe you aren't stable in your finances because you've been unemployed this whole time. You've been unemployed because you've been stuck in thinking you need to keep going with this corporate job. Do you even know who you are, though? Do you even know who you are truly outside of a career, outside of a job title? Do you? What does XYZ, insert name here, the marketing manager, or XYZ, insert name here, the junior analyst, I don't know, the software engineer, who are you outside of that? Can you answer that question genuinely? Because I can't. I'm still answering that question for myself. That's why I said it's a journey of self-discovery, of rediscovery. Because I once was somebody outside of all of this. I had beliefs, I had interests, I had hobbies, I had talent, I have talents. And now I have to rediscover all of that, because those are the things that had always given me joy until I got distracted and I fell for the illusion and I fell for self-importance, because I was like, oh, I need to be some head honcho big shot to be taken seriously, to be noticed, to be validated, to be accepted, to feel like I belonged. So perhaps that's how I choose to, I think that's how I should close this video, actually, is posing that question to you who's going through the gigs. You might be going through some shit. Maybe you're questioning, should I resign? Shouldn't I resign? But if I resign, then what? What's next? What's next is a great question. What's next doesn't have to inspire fear and uncertainty. What's next is a blank canvas. And what's around you and the choices that you can make is the paint and the paintbrush. So start drawing the life that you want. Start illustrating the change that you need, that you intrinsically need at your soul, like the core of your soul, the core of your being. Because that's what I did. And I still have a what's next. Who are you truly? What is it that you like to do? Do it. Document your lessons and share them with the world. All right. That's the end of this video. I hope that you enjoyed it. If you stuck around for this entire thing, I want to thank you so much. I know that in a world where everything is all about like quick flashes in the pan and, you know, we've got like goldfish memories now and it's just like, you know, microwavable content, very gimme now. Like, I know that this is hell. I'm sure you saw the timestamp. You were like, oh my God, this is so long. But I had to, I'm so passionate about this particular topic that I had to share it. And I'm hoping that if you've stuck around for this long, everything that I've said, or even parts of what I've said, have somewhat resonated with you deeply. And as I'd said in the beginning, when I had that silly little, it's not a silly setup, it's actually a really great setup. If you have been with me since the beginning, I'd said if this is meant to find you, then if you'd been asking a particular question that you put out to the ether, then do I need to finish that sentence? You know whether this is meant for you or not, because if it's not, you would have clicked off already. So thank you so much for sticking around with me. Thank you for having the patience to listen to me try to get to the point of my story and my own journey. I am thinking about doing a part 2, which more so focuses on the spirituality and the esoteric aspect of this entire journey, because it's both of them have kind of been like parallel to each other, right? I would love to actually speak about rediscovering and finding my sense of spirituality again. There could be a part 2, a part 3, a part 4. There's so many things that I can speak on. Yeah. Like, share, subscribe, you know. If this really truly resonated with you, please comment it down below. Let me know. I would love to know where you are in life right now. Sometimes it's about being able to share as strangers with other strangers, because perhaps there's room for no judgment, right? Get it off your chest, bro. Get it off your chest. Judgment-free zone. I mean, I judge LinkedIn and corporate. That's because I think that it's all rubbish. So I hope you have a lovely, whatever day you find this, whatever day this finds you. And yeah, I just really, really hope that you could take something meaningful away from this and of value. And I hope that you break out of the loop. And I hope that you wake up and start to realize you are worthy and you are valued. You just haven't found the place where people can make you feel that way. Okay, bye.